Blackwood Manor loomed, a gothic silhouette against the dying light. Its windows, vacant eyes watched the approaching teenagers. A shiver ran down Jamie's spine. He'd heard the stories, whispers of tragedy, of madness, of something sinister lurking within. He glanced at his friends, their bravado a thin veil over their apprehension. Tonight they would tempt fate. Tonight they would enter Blackwood Manor. "Double Dog dare you to go in?" Lexi smirked, her voice barely a whisper. The challenge hung in the air, thick with anticipation. Lexi's eyes gleamed with mischief, her smirk widening as she watched Jamie's reaction. The group had gathered at the edge of the old abandoned mansion, a place shrouded in local legends and ghost stories. The night was still, the only sound the rustling of leaves in the cool breeze. Jamie, never one to back down from a challenge, met her gaze. His heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to show any sign of fear. He squared his shoulders and took a deep breath, his eyes locked on the dark silhouette of the mansion. "All right, Lexi," he said, his voice steady. "I'll do it." The group watched in silence, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. "You know I don't scare easy," he retorted, pushing open the creaking iron gate. The sound echoed through the night, sending a shiver down everyone's spine. The gate, heavy with rust and age, groaned in protest as Jamie forced it open. He stepped forward, the gravel crunching under his feet, and glanced back at his friends. "See you on the other side," he said with a confident grin. Tom, ever the skeptic, scoffed. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, rolling his eyes. "It's just an old house. What's the worst that could happen?" Despite his words, there was a hint of uncertainty in his voice. He crossed his arms and leaned against a tree, trying to mask his own unease. The stories about the mansion were just that, stories. Or so he tried to convince himself. It's just an old house, what's the worst that could happen? The mansion loomed before them, its windows dark and empty, like eyes watching their every move. The once grand structure was now a decaying relic, its walls covered in ivy and its roof sagging. The air around it felt heavy, as if the house itself was alive, waiting for its next victim. Ethan, pale and silent, clutched his camera tighter. He had agreed to document the dare, but now he wasn't so sure. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the settings on his camera, trying to focus on the task at hand. The stories of ghostly apparitions and unexplained noises played on a loop in his mind. He swallowed hard, his mouth dry, and took a step closer to the gate. He felt a growing unease, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to leave this place and never return. But he couldn't. Not now, not with everyone watching. He forced a smile and nodded at Jamie, who was already halfway to the front door. "Let's get this over with," he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible over the pounding of his heart. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and dust. Cobwebs clung to every surface, shrouding the once grand furniture in ghostly drapes. Each footstep echoed in the oppressive silence, amplified by their pounding hearts. As they ventured deeper, Jamie swore he saw shadows move at the edge of his vision. A cold draft brushed past him, carrying the faintest whisper of a name. A rhythmic tapping echoed from somewhere below. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was persistent, almost hypnotic, drawing the attention of anyone who dared to listen. It reverberated through the walls, creating an unsettling atmosphere that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It was slow, deliberate, like the beating of a monstrous heart. Each tap seemed to carry a weight, a sense of foreboding that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. The shadows danced in time with the rhythm, creating an eerie ballet of light and dark. Lexi's hand found Jamie's, her grip surprisingly strong. She could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken fear that gripped them all. Her heart pounded in her chest, matching the steady beat that echoed around them. She squeezed Jamie's hand tighter, seeking comfort in the familiar touch. "What is that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The question hung in the air, unanswered, as they all strained to hear any other sounds that might give them a clue. The tapping continued, relentless and unyielding as if mocking their fear. Tom, his usual bravado faltering, strained to identify the source of the sound. He prided himself on being the fearless leader of their group, but now, even he felt a chill run down his spine. He glanced around trying to maintain his composure, but the uncertainty was evident in his eyes. "Probably just pipes," he mumbled, though his eyes darted nervously around the room. He didn't believe his own words, and neither did the others. The sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate to be something as mundane as plumbing. It was as if the house itself was alive and it was trying to communicate with them. Ethan, drawn by an unseen force, moved towards a hidden door beneath the grand staircase. He felt a strange compulsion, an urge to uncover the source of the tapping. His steps were slow and cautious, each one echoing in the silence. The others watched him, their breaths held in anticipation. What lay behind that door? What secrets did it hold? The steady beat continued, guiding him closer and closer to the unknown. Symbols of dread. The air grew colder as they descended the creaking steps. The basement was a subterranean labyrinth, the darkness pressing in from all sides. Ethan's flashlight flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced on the damp stone walls. There, etched into the wall, was a symbol. A pentagram, its points stained a disturbing shade of crimson. Below it, more symbols, ancient and arcane, whispered of forgotten rituals and forbidden knowledge. The Darkness Awakens. A low growl reverberated through the chamber, a primal sound that sent shivers down their spines. The air crackled with unseen energy, the hair on their arms standing on end. Something was here with them, something ancient and malevolent. Ethan's flashlight sputtered and died, plunging them into absolute darkness. Panic flared. They were trapped, alone in the darkness with something they couldn't understand. Trapped! We need to get out of here! Jamie shouted, his voice tight with fear. They stumbled back, their hands groping for the safety of the stairs. But the darkness seemed to have a life of its own, swirling and shifting, blocking their escape. A cold, clammy hand brushed against Lexi's cheek, drawing a shriek from her lips. The growl grew louder, closer, a predator stalking its prey. No escape. They scrambled up the stairs, their lungs burning, their hearts pounding against their ribs. But the door at the top, once ajar, was now slammed shut. They threw themselves against it, but it wouldn't budge. Something was holding it closed, something strong and unseen. Despair clawed at their throats. They were trapped, at the mercy of whatever lurked in the shadows. The price of curiosity. The growl became a roar, shaking the very foundations of the house. The darkness coalesced, taking on a horrifying form. A skeletal figure draped in tattered robes, its eyes burning with an unholy light. It lunged, its skeletal fingers reaching for them, its touch promising unimaginable pain. Lexi screamed, a high-pitched wail that echoed through the house. Then silence. The only sound, the rhythmic tapping, now faster, more insistent. Tap, tap, tap. Forever haunted. The next morning, the rising sun cast long shadows over Blackwood Manor. The house stood silent, its secrets locked within its decaying walls. The teenagers were never seen again. Some say their cries can still be heard on moonless nights, echoing from the depths of the manor, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within, waiting to claim its next victims. A warning unheeded. The sign stood as a silent sentinel, a stark reminder of the dangers that lay beyond. Yet it was often ignored, dismissed as mere superstition by those who sought the thrill of the unknown. The town whispered of the tragedy, their voices hushed, their eyes filled with fear. Stories of disappearances and unexplained phenomena circulated, each tale more chilling than the last. The elders spoke of a curse, a dark shadow that loomed over Blackwood Manor, claiming the lives of the curious and the foolhardy. Blackwood Manor remained, a monument to curiosity and its consequences. Its once grand halls now stood in ruin, overtaken by nature and time. The fog that enveloped the manor seemed almost alive, a spectral presence that guarded its secrets jealously. The gardens, once meticulously maintained, were now a tangled mess of thorns and brambles, a fitting metaphor for the twisted history of the place. A chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets best left buried. The manor's locked doors and hidden chambers held stories of sorrow and madness, of lives destroyed by an insatiable quest for knowledge. The ancient book, its pages yellowed with age, contained spells and incantations that promised power but delivered only despair. But the dare remained, whispered among the town's youth, a challenge to tempt fate, a promise of a thrill more terrifying than any nightmare. The allure of the forbidden was too strong to resist. They gathered at the edge of the manor's gate, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. each one hoping to be the first to uncover the manor's secrets, yet dreading the consequences of their curiosity, and so the cycle continued. The curse of Blackwood Manor, a haunting testament to the darkness that lies within us all. As day turned to night, the manor's true nature revealed itself. The flickering lights and cobwebs were mere preludes to the horrors that awaited within. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, as if the very walls of the manor were closing in. It was a place where the past and present collided, where the living and the dead coexisted in a macabre dance. The manor stood as a grim reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved, some paths better left untrodden. Yet, the allure of Blackwood Manor remained, a siren call to those who dared to dream of uncovering its dark secrets.